Alright, here's a little demo of a um, bullet hell, bullet heaven that we're currently developing. So Happy New Year. We have our class-based system, and from here we have a currency system, level component with our XP. We can currently pick up XP, pick up another one, um, and then we have our ability selection screen. This is all really rough. So we put fire rains and orbiter because we gained a lot of XP, jump to level 5. So we'll queue them, and that'll give us our abilities. They go on cooldown. Let me do volume there. And then you got uptime. Let me not get fire rains. So timed 1, orbiter. I don't want fire rain, so I'm not going to pick it. I need to destroy that. This is still in the works. Shift 1. There we go. Okay, so I've muted the volume. And then the abilities will show their uptime, their cooldown, and eventually their tier. And then the attribute setup. This is your inventory screen. So if I hit F6 and give myself some gear, we'll see I now have 3 pieces of gear. Right now it's click. I'm going to switch this to hover. If we click on gear, it'll tell you the gear power, the name of the gear, the level, blah, 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 level 30, and it increases the power based on item level. But what it also does is we can change attributes through this gear and update our stats. And so we have max health of 140. If we unequip, now we're at 90. If we equip it back, we go back to 140. I have a little bit of a refresh issue, so you can see we didn't refresh on that last one. And then this is actually causing the 3 attack speed. So if I unequip it, and now unequip, you'll see it goes back. If I equip it, it's back there. So yeah, so these gear have attributes, and we have a lot of attributes in the game that we'll be able to affect. So next is showing your, in red, it's not always going to be a percent, but it will show your max value, whether it's meters, degrees, or percentage, whatever the unit is. And then same to the right, it'll show percentage, meters, or whatever the attribute is being measured by. And then the affix profiles. So these are some debug profiles. So we actually have a prefix and suffix system that applies modifiers. So if I hit F6 again and I click on this, you'll now see the Gravebound Astral Ring, or the Warden Astral Amulet of Absorption, or the Brutal Staff, right? And so these will also increase values, and the way it works is we have preview modifiers. These are going to help us, these get sent to a resolver, so the registry and the inventory component talk to a resolver to resolve stats driven by a gear stat tag and then its operation. So right now add, but add and subtract, it does both. And then eventually we're going to have a multiply tag. And then same thing here. We'll also know, so we read the tag and we determine the operation. So you got to assign these two for redundancy. And then we have a magnitude that we pass for set by caller. This magnitude is also scaled by item level. Item level, so when we pass this magnitude, it gets passed by a rarity. It determines its rarity and goes, okay, well, it's this rarity and it's this item level, so this number should increase. So then we pass rarity, magnitude, and base item level. That gets passed to our registry. Our registry helps us resolve stats to attributes. And so we have our stat tag from our gear, our attribute from our attribute set. We can determine the units, which this will get input to help us push this to the resolver as well. Precision, don't need to worry about this. This is if we want to show larger floats. Right now we just set it to 0. Our scaling mode is set to none, but what will eventually happen is we'll take the raw magnitude after it's gone through its operations from its item definition, and then it gets passed to here. So then it takes the raw magnitude and applies it to a curve. And we can just have certain curves for certain attributes that we want to scale by item level, and then tune each one of those. And so eventually this will take a curve, and we'll have the curves set up for all of our attributes to scale by level. And so as players increase item level, they can then, not only item level, but rarity, they can then have them scale appropriately. So that's the system in a nutshell. And if I take an affixion, and I have an affixion that's a prefix, so it goes before the name, it's tiered, so its tier goes into the item definition when it resolves, and that also scales things. We have a weight for its chance to spawn, its name, whatever the affixion name is. We have bonus effects, which you can do, but not necessary. We can grant certain abilities. Right now these are just abilities. I need to rewrite that. And then we can give certain tags if they're relevant. And they can go into a container for this affixion if this affixion needs to give a specific tag. And then this is actually wrong, so this should be the new system. I just did this. Knockback strength. Dot add. And so now we can pass in it's of type item weapon. That's its allowed item type, so only weapons can roll brutal. Item levels, I just leave its allowed slot as of type as weapon for our slot unum. And then our preview modifiers for the UI, we give them that, we give them that, give them 5. And so if I were to give this like a high weight, in theory, I don't know, it still has a chance to roll. If I go IF6, yeah, so there's still, while it does have a chance, it can roll something else. And then there's things like astral, that can happen, not great. So my next thing is to update all of my prefixes and suffixes to the new tag system for gear. And what's great about this is this all runs one singular GE. This sounds miserable as fuck, because it is. And the next thing that I'm going to do now that I've done this by hand is I'm going to create an editor utility widget, and that's going to scan my stat registry, scan my gear stat tags, and also scan my equip stats GE, and then we're going to just have it automate a lot of this based on the gear stats tag. So this will automate these two and add what needs to be added, because this was miserable putting in here. There's a lot of stats, doing everything set by color magnitude and then adding the tag. But we use one singular GE that gets aggregated. So when we equip a piece of gear, We take all of our tags, we do our calculations, uh, apply that GE. If we unequip, we remove it. As far as the inventory arrays, they're all using fast arrays. Everything's fully replicated, and so we're able to do pretty efficient inventory system. There's still a bunch to go with features to add. The next incoming thing is going to be a utility slot. Right now these are your consumable slots, so I can put that consumable on. If I double click it, health will go down. Um, and so that's coming in the future is uh, updating the inventory system so that uh, we have our utility slot. Our utility slot is essentially used for like a bag slot. Um, so we can have increased slots in here. We'll also have a global modifier, so this will be a hidden value on the inventory component, and we can drive our slots, which it already is a variable, and then that will modify that value. And updating our text. Also, we can just drag anywhere in here, and it will auto-equip. Um, Obviously not that, because that goes down here. It's a consumable. And then doing everything to hover. I'm currently working on the tooltip widget for the stash slots, since this will show your gear, and then below it, it's going to have a bunch of stats that you're applying. So if I go to UI, widgets, inventory here, and we go to the graph, and we look at our on item selected, details changed, we have these stat deltas. So we can drive a lot of things. We can show base stats for the gear, just the affixtions, or the total modified stats. So we're able to do all of that and get a before and after. Um, and that's really the goal, is to show before and then what the piece of gear um, is going to do. And right now for that menu, inside of here, we're just showing total because who cares? If you want to see what each piece of gear goes from what to what, then just put it in your stash. But we just want to show total stats that are being applied. And then the tooltip inside of the inside of the stash slots, that will show before and after. So if you want, if it's even worth equipping that piece of gear. And then these little black squares, I don't know if you noticed, but those are going to be set bonuses. So those would be the set piece icon. And that is already all being calculated. If I go to blueprints, inventory system, data, item set definitions, we have set tags, and so we can create set item stuff. And then inside of here, we don't need UI stat lines. We are on preview modifiers now. So set pieces have pieces, and it requires this many to be equipped at a time. And if it's equipped at a time, we give a bonus effect. The bonus effect is generally going to always be driven by a preview modifier. The only time we're ever going to use this GE is for special things. Things like periodic effects that we want to apply, or some sort of like instant effect. But everything else globally through preview modifiers is infinite. These will always be, this is an infinite GE, so maybe we want, like, you equip this set and it gives you a pulse that goes off every 15 seconds for 2 pieces, and you equip 4, and then the pulse goes from 15 seconds to 7 seconds, like something like that. That would be where you can have this bonus effect. One thing with bonus effects is they're hidden effects. they're not displayed. So if the player needs to know about them, they'll be in the item description, or for the player to discover. And then same thing, granted tags. So if we apply a certain effect, we can give them a tag associated with that, or we can know that they have equipped 4 pieces of gear. This tag container for granted tags, ideally what the plan is for some stuff that's like achievement bound, like equip a piece of gear, equip a weapon. I can then have these tags and know that like the first time they did that, unlock an achievement and such. So just a lot of options here. Or they've equipped a 2-piece set and then a 4-piece set, and we can know that what they have. Alrighty.